Over the past century, women have transformed the workforce, breaking barriers and redefining roles. From factory floors during wartime to modern boardrooms, their journey is one of resilience and progress. Through these vintage photos, we'll explore this evolution and celebrate the legacy of working women. Join us at the Archival Eye and share your thoughts in the comments. Jobs commonly held by women included positions as postal clerks, which involved sorting letters and packages. While it wasn't uncommon for women to work in post offices, very few women actually delivered mail. According to the U.S. Postal Service, in 1920, only 5% of the nation's 943 village carriers were women. In 1920, women made up about 20% of the labor force, and many of them were involved in the manufacturing of apparel, food, and tobacco products, the U.S. Department of Labor reported. Many women learned to type in order to secure higher-paying jobs in an office as a secretary or a typist in a clerical office, rather than having to work in a factory. The Encyclopedia of Chicago reported that working conditions, wages, and hours in clerical work were seen as the best at the time. After the Women's Bureau was established in the U.S. Department of Labor on June 5, 1920, women had even more opportunities in the labor force. As the popularity of silent films began to rise, women also found work creating movies for the silver screen. However, most occupations were seen solely as a precursor to marriage. Among married white women of both native and immigrant backgrounds, only around 10% held jobs, history reported. Inspired by the Civilian Conservation Corps, which only allowed men to join in exchange for free room and board, Eleanor Roosevelt started she camps as a way for women to gain employment in environmental conservation as well. Many women during the Great Depression found work as secretaries, teachers, telephone operators, and nurses. Women also made an income by sewing clothes in Works Progress Administration, WPA, sewing rooms, which manufactured men's trousers, boys' coveralls, baby clothes, dresses, and diapers. During World War II, women assisted in manufacturing wartime necessities like gas masks. By 1945, 1 in every 4 married women worked in jobs outside the home. Before the war, women were largely in traditionally female fields such as nursing and teaching. By 1943, women made up 65% of the U.S. aircraft industry's workforce. In 1935, women made 25% less than men for government jobs. In 1942, even though the War Labor Board required these women to be paid the same as men, the war ended before they could receive equal pay. Women were largely seen as supplemental workers in the 1950s, meaning their income was secondary to their husbands. After the war, women returned to stereotypically feminine jobs. In some cases, jobs were advertised for women only. The 1950s marked the beginning of the jet age, and many young women found work as flight attendants, then called stewardesses. In the 1950s and 1960s, women found creative ways to make their own incomes from their homes. While technology-based and other computer programming jobs may now be dominated by men, the same jobs were considered women's work in the 1960s. Women soon made up a majority of the trained workforce in the computing industry. In the 1960s, multiple pieces of legislation were passed to protect women in the workplace from discrimination. The New York Times has referred to the 1990s as the best era for working women. The COVID-19 pandemic caused the women's labor force participation rate to hit a 33-year low in January 2021,